college, to be on my own, earning a living, going to school, and knowing how to survive. We all learn how to study for an exam, how we live our lives, how to be part of the city council person, and how to be a good citizen. My time in the military also provided me with a lot of focus, which brings me to a point I feel is important. We, as a collective society, spend too much effort on trying to be different. I feel we should look more at why we are similar. I'm out of time. We will dress different and different genders, and some have different colors of skin, even talk a little different. However, the most important part is that we are similar Homo sapiens wanting to be clothed, sheltered, and fed. I will leave my last paragraph for our council members, Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Masuda, Councilmember Kennedy, Councilmember High Hampton, Councilmember Madison, and our Vice Mayor, Andy Wilson, and of course, our mayor sitting in front of me. Good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Warren, for your comments and your presentation. And again, we'll give each member of the council an opportunity to ask you a question. All these questions are being asked of each candidate. And we'll start with Councilmember Kennedy.
Good evening.
Well,
Why do you want to be appointed to the city council? What do you feel you will bring to the position? We know, Mike, that you've already shared some ideas. Please elaborate a little deeper.
the question is, why do I want to be here? Sometimes I've asked myself that as I've been made this journey in the past few months, and Mayor Gordo is smiling. I feel my involvement in the community of Pasadena and in District 5 that I have lived in since 1971. It's always been the same district. The district boundaries change, but the district itself has been the same. The people there, the people that I know, the area, what we've done, what the city has done in that area, I feel is important. And I feel that I want to continue in that endeavor. I'm not here to make big changes. I'm here to get along and see that our district, District 5, continues to be a vibrant part of the city of Pasadena. And with that, I will leave. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Kennedy?
Yes, but if you wanted to share anything more, the second part of the question was, what do you feel you will bring to the position? And I'll leave it up to you if you're finished on that question.
Primarily, what I've reflected on is that I believe that I will bring a willingness to serve the community and be part of the group. I have watched a lot of our city council meetings on television, and I'm honestly impressed by the way the city council generally gets along and comes to a cohesive determination as to what is best for the city as a whole. And I feel that that is important. I'm not looking to make any earth-shaking changes. I would like to see District 5, which is what I'm here to represent, continue in the same manner that it has in the past.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next question is from Councilmember Wilson.
Hi, Mike. Welcome, and thank you for your interest.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Right. Still works. Thanks for joining us, Mike. My question is about what the vision is for the city of Pasadena 10 years into the future. What does the city look like and why? A bit of an aspirational view of where you think the city could go.
That is probably the most involved question that you could ask, Vice Mayor. The city, in the years that I have been, I'm a native, but I didn't live here my entire life. I've lived here mostly since 1962, which is longer than a lot of you have been here, but that's beside the point. I've seen a lot of changes, and I know that we're going to have more changes. Looking down the road 10 years or even 20 years, I don't have the crystal ball that I would like to have. The path that we have been on, the path that will continue with good guidance from the city council is the important part. I can't say where I see the city. I know that we have a lot of issues out there as a city as a whole. I've talked to the people in my district, and the district, for the most part, probably Lake Avenue, any redevelopment there is probably the biggest issue for the people in my particular area. But the whole district, the whole city has other issues, homelessness. We'd like to have some magic solution for that. I don't think it quite exists. The city council has tried to provide vouchers for those homeless people in the bad weather days, and that is definitely a help. But how do we solve all these problems? How do we make the city better for 10 years down the road? I don't have the answer. I would like to be part of the discussion and hopefully part of the solution, but in all honesty, I don't have the answers at this time.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wilson. Next is Councilmember Hampton.
Oh, hey, look at there.
Candidate
On
Warner.
TV. Good evening. You always show your
Good
picture,
evening.
so it's good to see you.
I look exactly like my picture. I tell you that all the time. I have a question for you, Candidate Warner.
Thank you.
What do you see the biggest challenges facing Pasadena in the coming year?
Well, one part is pretty easy. This virus that we've been dealing with for the past year is still going to be with us for this year and possibly even into next year. So I would have to say that that's the biggest issue. The next biggest issue in my observation is our homeless population. I deal with it somewhat on a personal basis at our church. People love to camp there. We have our food bank, which hands out food to homeless people, but dealing with it on the city-wide level is going to be a major task that's been addressed many times in the council. It's addressed by many people in the community. Nobody has a specific answer. It's something that's difficult to get our arms around. It's something that we have to deal with and treat with respect and dignity and still try to come up with solutions that will help the problem. I don't have an answer for the problem, but again, I'd like to be, involved in that discussion and do what I can, as I have in the past, to make it better. I mentioned in my remarks that last year I brought food boxes that we picked up at the food bank to the city hall because the city council reps were handing them out to people in the community that needed additional food. And it's one of the ways that we can help our community, but it's not the only answer.
Thank you.
Does that answer your
Thank you,
question?
Candidate.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hampton. Next question is from Councilmember Masuda.
Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Councilmember Masuda. Good to see you. Even if it is on
Good to see
camera.
Michael, I'm referring to Pasadena. Have you attended and or participated in any civic meetings? And if so, which ones, and describe your participation?
Okay, well, there's a lot of civic meetings that I've been involved. A lot of them deal with the church that I'm involved in because of our homeless participation, because of the bad weather shelter, because of our food bank. But I've also participated in sister cities activities that I feel are a big part of Pasadena's continuing involvement in the community. It's a community that reaches across international barriers, but yet we are all delegates of that community. We're a part of Pasadena. I've been to several community meetings that have been held. None of them specifically come to mind where we talk about different issues. I've been involved in candidates' campaign for office. I'm racking my brain right now, but I'm always willing to step out and hear another point of view, which is a lot of the community meetings are expounding a point of view. We had a Zoom meeting the other day. What should have, oh, I see the cat there, Felicia. What should have been a 20-minute meeting ended up an hour-and-a-half meeting. And unfortunately, many of our community meetings end up that way. So I can't give you any more specifics than that. If you want more specifics, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Masuda. Next question is from Councilmember Madison.
Good evening.
Thank you,
Councilmember.
Mayor, and thank you, Michael, for applying and for all that you've done for the city. You're no stranger to this council chambers, and I have very positive, feelings and recollections about all the great work that you've done.
Thank you,
So
Councilmember.
thank you very much. I've mentioned that I recently heard an interview of a prominent governor, and he made that what I thought was a very interesting point, which was that in public life, you often find yourself spending 90% of your time on what's urgent and only 10% on what's really important. And so I wanted to ask you, and if you could give us 3 top sort of priorities for the city, what you think is most important presently for the city of Pasadena.
Well, in one respect, I've already mentioned at least 2 of the top priorities that I see for the city of Pasadena, and that is the virus, getting the people vaccinated, getting the information out there, keeping people safe from one another as well as the community as a whole. The homeless issue that we have, the people that are in need of more than the city alone can provide, and hopefully agencies are taking care of that. Number 3 on that list for me is a little tougher one, what to bring to the forefront, but Pasadena does a lot in respect to the overall community around Pasadena, the state of California, and even the nation as a whole. We have a lot of people that are involved in a lot of things. I was asked early on in this how I felt about the new Green Deal. Pasadena does a lot with the vehicles that we have out there that are electric. There's a lot of people talking about all electric cars by 2035, by 2040. I'm not sure that's going to work, but keeping that thought in mind in the things that we do as we go forward, I feel is important, because I myself, and I know you drive a Tesla. I didn't buy a Tesla, but I did buy a plug-in hybrid that is working very well. Prior to it, I had a hydrogen fuel cell that was just immensely working well. It's one of the things that overall that people are talking about. It's not an issue that Pasadena can directly affect, but we can have an influence on some of these aspects that keep Pasadena in the forefront. And to me, that is important. Probably important enough to probably make it number 3 on my list, is that the things that Pasadena does and keep us thinking about those things as we go forward. How does that answer your question?
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Next is Councilmember Williams.
Hello, Michael. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
The question that I have is, give an example of how you would resolve a situation where your personal philosophy is at odds with maybe what is best for the city.
Giving you an example is probably pretty tough because, well, no, it's not in one respect. As I said in my remarks, I feel that more similarity that we all represent is more important than we give credence to. And many times the aspects of the community is always trying to take us one way or take us another way. And that may be the direction that the group wants to go and I can go along with it, but it's not the way I feel individually. I feel that we should be concentrating more on how we're together and bringing us together rather than trying to divide us and make us all, I mean, we're all individuals and we're all somewhat different, but collectively we're part of the whole. We're part of the city of Pasadena. We're part of the city council. We're part of the community of Southern California. We're part of California as a whole. And that's the part that I think that at times I feel we need to concentrate more on. And these divisional ideas, I'm not always sure that that's the best way to go. But I can go along, as I say, and as most of us say, majority rules. If that's the way the majority wants to go, then I will go along with it. But it may not be the way that I personally feel individually. Does that help you?
And have you, on sister cities or on code enforcement, have you had to deal with this where maybe the other commissioners or committee members felt a different way from how you felt personally?
Sister cities, yes, there's a couple of places there I could cite. One idea that I brought to sister cities many years ago, people turned it down. And okay, I felt disappointed. But then a few years later, other people came up with the same idea and oh, it wasn't so bad after all. The Code Commission is a very good example. Our ordinance that was initiated by Mayor Gordo, the deemed approved ordinance, dog issues, animal issues are always decisive, but the deemed approved ordinance was one that some of the commissioners wanted to go a little stronger than some of the other commissioners. I didn't believe that that was the best interest, but that was the way we went initially, and then it was turned down. Last month, we had a case at the Code Commission where we were dealing with dogs. Unfortunately, the animals are the one that suffer. The ones that really should have been penalized were the owners for not taking care of business. But I felt for the animals, but I was, the group went another way, and so I have to go along with the group. And those are probably the best examples that I can give you. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Mr. Warner, some of these questions may sound repetitive, but so I want to ask a little bit different. You know, you talked about some of the concerns citywide, but maybe you can tell us, you know, and you talked about some of the issues facing District 5, but maybe you can be more specific, some issues that you'd like to talk about that could face District 5 and or the city in general that maybe you haven't already talked about, or delve deeper into.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Obviously, District 5 had a couple of new avenues in the last couple of days, but they're not anything that any of us can individually resolve. We had a fire on lake at a restaurant, and we had a person doing, in my opinion, somewhat stupid things at another restaurant. But those are issues in the district that the district has to be aware of. At the moment, I don't know of any major issues in the district that we really need to discuss. But of course, there's always something in the works there. We have our good field rep here that has her thumb on what's happening, but that's why I look to Margot. I have to share this, particularly with Mayor Gordo. Back in November, when I knew Margot wasn't going to be in her current position, I went to her and asked if I was selected for this position, would she consider working with me here? And she resoundingly told me yes. And then come to find out that Mayor Gordo appointed her as the fill-in there was rather surprising and very pleasing to my personal viewpoint, because we need good people in our district. and we need people that know what's going on. I have listened at some parts and read other parts. The candidates that we have, besides myself, are all people that care about District 5. They care about what's happening there. And as you pointed out, we've all made the effort to step up and be here tonight and put ourselves on the line. So that is good. I don't have any particular issues that I'm aware of at the moment, but I'm always open.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. And as has been mentioned, you have a record of serving the city and the district, and we'd like to thank you for your willingness to step forward, your willingness to stand before the full city council and also the residents of District 5 and the city in general. And thank you for your willingness to give everyone choices, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have you go back to the conference room now, and we will bring up the next candidate, Martha Shenkenberg.
Thank you. Put this thing back on. Yeah. Yeah.
Ms. Shenkenberg, welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I just want to first thank you for your willingness to stand before us and together with your fellow applicants, give the people of District 5 and the City Council choices. All four of you are very well qualified and involved. And on behalf of the council, I'd like to thank you for your willingness. It takes a lot of guts to put your name on a ballot or even on an application and say, I think I'm qualified and believe I should be given consideration. So on behalf of the council, the district, and the staff, thank you for your willingness to do that. I have one quick question that we're asking of all the candidates. And actually all of the questions by each council member are being asked uniformly of all the candidates. But one question, in terms of employment or potential conflicts of interest with your employer or any for that matter, you've of course run those to ground and you're comfortable that there's nothing that precludes you from fulfilling your duties as a member of the city council.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. With that, you'll have a 6-minute, an opportunity for 6 minutes to give an opening statement, and then the members of the city council will each ask you a question. Mr. Clerk, would you want to?
Mayor, Ms. Shenkenberg has a PowerPoint presentation. We're going to bring that up. And your 6 minutes starts now.
Okay. Let's see. Why is this not working? There. Oh, sorry. It takes me a minute to get. Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you all for your service to our great city. I'd like to start out with telling you a little bit about myself. I grew up in the Midwest, moved to Virginia, Alexandria specifically. Alexandria is a lot like Pasadena. It's very historical and has a very strong community presence. I lived there, went to college at UVA and was a nurse in Richmond. for many years. And then after graduate school, I moved to Charlotte and then Atlanta. And then I moved to Pasadena. And once I came to Pasadena, my short term, I was originally supposed to come for 3 months. It ended up turning into more than 20 years. But one of the times I was here, once I got here, I thought, you know what, people need an easy way to get to know Pasadena. So I wrote this book. It's the Pasadena Insider's Guide to Pasadena. It's no longer published, but it's a very user-friendly book on how, to find things in Pasadena. So I got to learn Pasadena through that process. One of the, oops, wrong way.
I'll help you out. There you go.
One of the things I did when I was traveling here on work before I moved, I actually got involved in the Pasadena community. I, with 2 other women, started the STARS tutoring program. We're starting, STARS will be 25 years old in September. It's on 500 Villa on a villa in Oakland. My role in starting STARS was to put together the infrastructure, put together the programs, put together the volunteering training, all the sort of things that made it sustainable to this day. Over the years, hundreds of kids have gone to college. They've been positively impacted. They've been lifted out of poverty, and upon occasion, I still volunteer with some of the programs. One of the deepest and most meaningful experiences for me with STARS was being a mentor to Catherine and Araceli. Both of them lived right by the 99-cent store. They both, when I met them, were in junior high school, could barely read. Now, I encouraged them, helped them through high school. They went to college. They're now homeowners, they're mothers. They have very successful careers. And I'm sure you probably can't read their testimonials here, but I got to really know them very, very well. I was like a mom to them. Tell you, we used to go to Araceli's ROTC things. It was great. So anyway, they're wonderful. Really taught me an appreciation for their culture and the struggles that they faced growing up in the area that they grew up in. So that's about that. My community service continues on. I was in the inaugural class of Leadership Pasadena, and I know that you all know all about Leadership Pasadena. It's a great experience for me. I learned a lot about Pasadena. We got to sit here in the chambers and learn about the city government, as well as everything Pasadena. I was on the board of directors for 6 years. I was chair for 2.5 and led the organization through a rather challenging time. But it really helped me learn how to lead a community organization and how I understand how important all the different components of Pasadena are and how everything works. Now I'm involved in the Pasadena Neighborhood Network, and that's been going on for a couple years now, and that is an organization that helps neighborhoods connect with each other. I want to talk a little bit about my professional experience. I've been a healthcare consultant for more than 30 years. One of my job now at Kaiser Permanente is to implement Medi-Cal programs throughout Southern California. Medi-Cal, if you don't know, is the insurance for poor and disabled people. There's a lot of really complicated regulatory requirements and programs that I have to implement. 2 of the examples that I have implemented over the last few years is homeless housing navigation. So I've had to work with a lot of housing navigation agencies, community partners to get that up and going. Also worked on transportation to ensure that our Medi-Cal members can get a ride to their appointments if they need it. I've also worked at CHAP Community Clinic. I helped them implement a diabetes program. And I also worked on Skid Row and implemented what they call the Center for Community Health. In that one, we integrated behavioral health, substance abuse, primary care, and public health all in one area for one-stop shopping for people on Skid Row. So I really understand how to take an idea, put it into action, and make it happen. That's what I do. And I'm very good with collaborating with external agencies and multiple stakeholders. So what does this mean to District 5 residents? How can they benefit from this? I'm really good at going through issues, figuring out what the relevant points are, assessing it, coming up, working with people to build consensus. What I really do well at is take sort of a mess, like this, all these disparate parts, put them together, organize them, and come out with an outcome. As a consultant, you're always accountable to deliver. And in this practice, you also have to have business case development, financial analysis, implication analysis, and very strong decision-making. So this will help the residents because oh my gosh, it's already done. Oops. All right. Sorry.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, that's okay. You guys can read it. All right, that's it. Okay. I went by fast.
Thank you. We'll move on to specific questions from each member of the council. And as I mentioned, every applicant is being asked the same question by each council member. And we'll start with Councilmember Kennedy.
Mayor, I don't recall, did you already do your prelude?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Why do you want to be appointed to the city council? What do you feel you will bring to the position?
So I want to be appointed because I want to be a voice for the people in my district. I want to be able to bring their concerns to the council, and I want to bring some actions to help them overcome some of the challenges that Catherine and Araceli have faced, that I'm sure are being faced today that are still being faced by people in the district.
Is that the completion of your answer?
Pardon?
Have you completed your answer on that question?
Well, in terms of my qualifications.
The other part was, what do you feel you will bring to the position?
So what I will bring to the position is understanding multiple points of view, understanding everybody's different perspective, and help build consensus to reach a common, acceptable, not everybody's always going to be happy, but direction to move forward, and then help move that forward.
Well, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next question is from Vice Mayor Wilson.
Ms. Shenkenberg, always good to see a Leadership Pasadena
Yes.
graduate at the podium like myself. Great program. My question is, what is your vision for the city of Pasadena over the next 10 years in the future? What does the city look like, and why? Really an aspirational view of where you think the city might go.
So one of the things I think we really need to focus on is how do we give opportunity to our youth? How do we make sure that they see hope for the future? And one of those things I think we need to do to build our middle class is to provide good, strong technical training opportunities to people. Not everybody wants to go to college. I think there's one of my slides, you can see, electricians make good money. There's a shortage of skilled labor. Automation is coming. Some jobs are going to be, no longer needed. So my vision is that everybody have really great opportunities to fulfill their dream. I would also like to see opportunities for very affordable housing that people can buy. These ideas of maybe having houses on public land that people, buy the house but not the land, some other kind of thing that allows for great stability in the neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is from Councilmember Hampton.
Candidate Shenkenberg,
Hi.
good to see you. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Pasadena in the coming year?
Well, if can I ask a question? Are you talking about COVID or after COVID?
You could answer however you'd like to answer.
Okay, so the biggest challenge immediately is getting people vaccinated. I understand that extremely well because I got trained on it yesterday. I'm going to go help out in Pomona. I think we've got to make sure that we're distributing and letting people know how they can get vaccinated. We need to, as soon as we get the supply and we know what the supply is, I mean, probably not 24/7, but 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, as much as we can to get people through the chutes. The other thing that's really important is economic and physical recovery. So anything that we can do for the businesses to help keep them open. And then the other thing is the learning, the kids. I'm really worried about the kids and them not going to school. What can we do to help them during the summer? You know, we can leverage Day One and STARS, who already have programs, and support them in having these kids, you know, catch up as much as they can.
Thank you so much for the thorough answer.
I can be thorough.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Next question is from Councilmember Madison. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Masuda. I apologize. Councilmember Masuda.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Martha. Thank you
Hi.
so much for being here.
Sure.
Okay, in Pasadena,
Mhm.
have you attended and or participated in any civic meetings? And if so, which ones, and describe your participation?
So I've been to many council meetings for the comment part. One of the later civic meetings I went to was the street one where we met in the PCC annex, where they wanted to have the road diet. So I was in there and I found that extremely interesting. And I did ask a question because I thought some of their math was a little, how can I say this? They wanted to say that the average time would, from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. would increase time by, and I don't remember the number, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever. Well, nobody travels from 5 to 6. So you really need to look at the times that people are actually traveling and what impact that would have on traffic. So that's just an example of how I like to dig dig down deep and figure out, what the numbers are really telling us. So I found that interesting. It was an overflow room. It was an interesting experience.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you. Next question is from Councilmember Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Shenkenberg. You've got a demonstrated record of public service, and I want to commend you for being willing to do this, and obviously for being here tonight. I recently heard an interview of a prominent governor who observed that in public life, it seems that we often spend 90% of our time on what's urgent and only 10% on what's really important.
Mhm.
And so I wonder if you could share with us what you think presently the 3 most important things are for the city of Pasadena.
I think one of the 3 important things I think is reliable housing stock for low and middle income people. I think a big issue is, like I said, sustainable employment opportunities for people. And I think that will really help mitigate some of the public safety issues if we can have people have hope for their future. And then the other thing that I'm really concerned about is the fiscal state of the city. And I have a graph here, which I can't put up, but I'll show you. But one of the things I'm very concerned about is the federal deficit's eventual impact on our state and on our city. And how is that going to impact us? Because as the federal debt goes up and up and up and up, there's not going to be a lot of room. They're going to have to raise taxes, and that's going to really push on our ability to either raise revenue, whatever. Anyway, so I think those are the 3 things. I don't know about the unfunded pension liability. I don't know about that a whole lot, but that's one thing I would want to understand better.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Madison. Next question is from Councilmember Williams.
Hello, Martha. Thanks for coming, and it's nice to see a woman up here, another woman. So my question is, and if you can give an existing example from Leadership Pasadena, from any of your other community involvement, give an example of how you would resolve a situation where your personal philosophy is maybe at odds with what is best for the city.
This role, in my mind, is to represent the people of my district. It doesn't matter, well, if it was a moral decision that was at question, that might be different. But this job is to represent the people of the city and do what's best for the city, not what's best, not necessarily what I think is maybe what I would do or what I would choose for myself. I do that all day long in my medical role, Medi-Cal role. We always do what's best for the member. That's just how it is. So I would bring that to this role.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Shenkenberg, next question is for me.
Okay.
And so I know some of these questions sound repetitive, but
That's okay.
I'll try and state it a little bit differently. So name some concerns of yours that face District 5 specifically, and or if you'd like to delve into other issues citywide or a combination of both. Tell us what those might be.
Yeah, so I think one of the big issues for District 5 is the public safety. You know, all of the shootings. I was talking to somebody from Leadership Pasadena, and she was saying, you know, she lives near Villa Park, and it's scary to take her children there. I think that's a huge issue, and we really need to address it. I think, let's see, I've already talked about employment and the kids. I think transportation is probably an issue, where how do we get people to get from here to there and make sure they can, you know, ride safely and all that. The other thing that she talked about, which I thought was a really good point, is transportation for kids to extracurricular activities. You know, if they have to go up to Pasadena High School or Muir or any place, the high school's not nearby. So how can they get transportation to and from these extracurricular activities, which will have something about that? I mean, I think there's just barriers that they face that we don't necessarily think about that are real issues for them, and we could help remove some of those barriers.
Thank you. With that completes the council's questions. But again, on behalf of the city council, I'd like to thank you for your willingness to step up, for your record of service. Like the other applicants, you distinguish yourself, and your willingness to be here and answer questions is much appreciated.
Certainly.
And give us a choice. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll have you go back to the conference room.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Next is Mr. Amsbry. Mr. Amsbry, welcome. I wanted to first open up by saying thank you for your willingness to express an interest in the job of serving District 5 and being a part of a decision-making body that always seeks to do what's in the best interest of the residents of District 5, but also the entire city of Pasadena. It takes a lot of guts to stand before the council, the residents of the district, as well as the broader residents of the city. And so we want to thank you for doing that on behalf of the council, the residents, and the staff. So
thank you.
With that, you will have 6 minutes to give your presentation. But before we go there, and this question is being asked of all of the candidates, I wanted to ask you, you cleared on your end any potential conflicts of interest with employers or otherwise, and you're comfortable that you could fulfill the duties of a member of the city council?
Yes, I am comfortable. There are no conflicts.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. We'll bring up your PowerPoint presentation, the remote controllers there.
Aha,
And you will have 6 minutes starting now.
very good. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to appear before you tonight and share why, along with many of my District 5 neighbors and many more Pasadena residents, believe that I am uniquely qualified to join this esteemed body and work together with you to solve arguably what I believe, and I think what many people believe, are some of the most urgent and pressing issues in the 136-year history of this great city. So I'd like to thank the Honorable Mayor Gordo and the members of the council. And thank you very much for having me here this evening. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to the Amsbry family. Here we are. Top picture is the day we moved into our home in Orange Heights. It's a 1910 Craftsman. We moved in 18 years ago, October of 2003. And our Pasadena has been our home for 18 years. We've become part of the Pasadena community, and the Pasadena community has shaped who we are as individuals and as a family. Young Tom up top on the left, blonde-haired kid. He's now a junior at Amherst College, a recruited athlete to their diving program. He's won he's a two-time NCAA Division III National Championship qualifier and an All-American. We're really proud of him. In the red shirt on the right is Jack. He was quite obsessed with Legos at that time. Today, he's a recent graduate of Tufts University with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, minor in economics. He's still at Tufts right now, pursuing a master's in mechanical engineering. I'm biased, but I think that they are wonderful young men. They're both committed to social, racial, and environmental justice. They're very thoughtful. They're very caring. Who they was largely shaped by the richly diverse District 5 neighborhood in which they were raised. We are eternally grateful for the experiences, their friends, and all that Pasadena has provided for them that has helped them grow into the young adults they are today. And the reason I stand before you today is because I want to make a difference for other children, for other people, for other residents growing up, perhaps with less privilege than our kids did, with fewer opportunities. I'm committed to unlocking the great opportunities of this city for those who need access that they deserve. That's me with my wife, Kate, 24 years, the delightful Kate. We celebrated that evening with Charlie Plowman at Outlook's 20th anniversary of serving the community that we've become so deeply connected with. I have experience with dozens of organizations and many more committed residents, the track record to organize in the community to get things done. You know, I've done everything, I think. Maybe not quite everything literally, but it seems like it sometimes. I started out selling popcorn for Den 1 Cub Scouts, and I had such great success I'm humbly here to tell you that I was eventually recruited to become what they called the popcorn colonel, spelled like a popcorn kernel. And I helped Cub Scouts and Boy Scout troops across San Gabriel Valley, helping them develop our unique system of selling popcorn. And that benefited many, many scores of troops across San Gabriel. I also coached a lot of different sports, most of which I didn't really know much about. I don't know much about basketball, but I coached it quite a bit, all in the interest of the kids. I'm a hand raiser, a doer. I jump in and help when needed. I coached flag football and basketball for several years with the great Victor McClintock in his Brotherhood League. I learned a lot from Victor about diversity and inclusion, and I miss Victor very dearly. I was a volunteer ski patrol at Bear Mountain, certified in the outdoor equivalency of an EMT, thirsting for ways to help other people. I'm the kind of guy who rolls up his my neighbors because I love them, and I've invested in improving the quality of life in Pasadena. You've seen my resume and reviewed my professional qualifications. I've done a lot in my professional career. I've managed small and large groups of people and radio stations, large and small groups of radio stations and markets. I've been responsible for large revenue budgets. I've managed sizable P&Ls for public companies. I've served as the chief revenue officer, responsible for finding creative ways to generate revenue, producing live events, festivals, concerts, and street fairs. I understand how to bring different constituencies together to make things happen in a municipal environment. I've had to make tough decisions a lot of different times, furloughing and firing large groups of people, even recently with a local nonprofit that I'm associated with. It's tough, but it's necessary when you need to make large budget cuts when needed. Also, I'm a Pasadena now. I own my own company. I'm responsible for my own P&L and my own employees. I understand the specific pain that business owners currently face as a local business owner. As a council member, I can jump in, contribute with the chamber, business groups, business owners, and understand how to create jobs and run profitable businesses. The council runs the business of the city, and I have relationships inside this building with city council members, and will make quick work in developing the relationships I need to make immediate impact. The COVID crisis, economic issues, local business, jobs, District 5 residents, and throughout the city. As a council member, I will work with you, Mr. Mayor, and all of the colleagues on the council to attack these urgent issues from my first day. Public health, we're fortunate to have the finest health department in the state, and in my role at the RBAC, I've developed relationships with Dr. Go. Am I running short?
Yeah. We're trying to be as uniform as possible. If you'll just finish their thought.
Yeah, let me
sentences.
finish my thought. I have
There's
one
plenty of time to weave it into
final thought. I'd like to add as my final thought that I'm a doer. I don't like excuses, nor do I like sitting still. I like to get things done. And as your District 5 council member, I'll get things done. I'll work through work with each of my fellow council members to understand the issues that impact their district. I'll collaborate and work to build consensus on complicated issues. I'm a creative solver that will work tirelessly on solutions. I have a business person's mentality and an understanding and respect for the process of city government, but a mind towards expeditious process. Civility, respectful debate and discussion, and a sense of urgency are what drive me. But most importantly, diversity, equity, inclusion, women's rights, equal pay for women, especially for women of color. These are not buzzwords or lip service. I commit to working with the NAACP and a coalition of women's groups to fight for the important rights, and I expect to be held accountable for creating real change. And I thank you for your time tonight. That's my commitment, and that is my final slide. It's the power of hope. It was our city's message in 2020, and I believe it carries through today. And I thank you very much
Thank
for the very quick 6 minutes. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to council member questions. And you'll have an opportunity to complete any thoughts maybe that you didn't cover in your opening statement.
Great, absolutely.
And so through the questions. First, we'll start with Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening and thank you. Why do you want to be appointed to the city council? What do you feel you will bring to the position? And I'll repeat the second question if you need, as you answer the question.
I want to be appointed to the city council for a number of reasons. And I'll be frank with you. I've never endeavored to be a city council member. That was not the ultimate goal. I've always looked for opportunities to create more value and more goodness in my community, to find a way, a larger platform where I could get more things done to create value for my fellow neighbors and residents in my community. This is a unique opportunity for me to do just that. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of enthusiasm, and I feel that I could add immediate value to the council through my business experience, the significant impact I've made through the variety of different ways that I've contributed to the community. And that's why I feel that this is an important time for me, and ability for me to make great impact in the city that I care so much about.
Thank you.
And the follow-up question, which you may have already answered, but I want to give clarity. What do you feel you will bring to the position?
I feel I'll bring 25 years of a successful business career and 10 or 15 years plus of active involvement in our community in board service as the current chairman of the board of the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center, as a current volunteer for the Pasadena Police Department, as a current co-founder of a 501c3 charitable organization that my wife and I founded for James Madison Elementary, an elementary school, part of PUSD, that my wife and I created with a wonderful principal named Noemi Ordeño. I cold called her thinking perhaps we could goodness at a local school, and we've created a friendship that has had outsized impact on a student body of approximately 550 students and their families, most Hispanic, mostly lower socioeconomic status, and part of the free lunch program. We pioneered some programs related to increasing on-time attendance and getting kids to start school earlier in the school year. That's helped return hundreds of thousands of dollars of funding to this school. And we've developed relationships at the school with the kids and the families that I'll carry for the rest of my life. I care deeply about the Madison community now, and this friendship has been amazing. I'll continue to find ways to make an impact in our community with communities of color, with women's groups, with areas where there are people that may need help advocating for themselves. I spend a lot of time at the wonderful newly remodeled Jackie Robinson Center, and I was there that wonderful day in 2019 when the facility was rededicated. And I flipped through my pictures quickly, but I had the opportunity to meet Rose Robinson that day, which was a terrific honor. And I know her late husband's statue is out front of the building. And I endeavor to continue working on issues to help youth in District 5 and in your district and in other districts where the youth of our city can benefit from more opportunities and more programs to find different options than they currently have when they're leaving high school or perhaps not graduating from high school. It's incumbent upon us to help the youth of our community to find better options than what they have. That's another one of the reasons why this job is important for me. It will provide me a platform to work along with all of the fellow council members to create more opportunities for the kids in our community. I hope that answered your question, sir.
That was a thorough answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next question is from Vice Mayor Wilson.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, what is your vision for the city of Pasadena 10 years in the future? What does the city look like and why? It's a bit of an aspirational view of the future of Pasadena.
That's a great question. Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Right now we sit sort of in the epicenter of so much innovation, so many wonderfully smart people, one of the finest universities in the world, 70% of the world's vehicles designed right here in Pasadena. We have on the periphery one of the finest botanical gardens. We have so much richness of our community, so many wonderfully intelligent people, so many fine individuals. We have the world's finest parade, the granddaddy of them all. We have so many fine people, the architecture, the art. We have the opportunity to really sensibly grow our city and to grow the economic opportunities to create Pasadena as an epicenter for all kinds of sensible business development around innovation and tech innovation, for example. This would be a wonderful new hub for tech, which would be a terrific path for us to go on. We believe, and I believe very specifically, and I've talked to other folks in this area and mentors and people that I work with in the business environment, that there are a number of different types of businesses that we could pursue together as we put together a real plan on how we could develop jobs, great paying jobs, career type jobs that would service all of the districts in Pasadena, that would provide great jobs and great job opportunities for the residents of District 5, District 4, and other districts, and would provide real opportunity for families to be able to afford homes here, and it would uplift the entirety of our city. And we have some areas that we could put in companies that would have a low environmental impact on our city, would have a low developmental impact in terms of their facilities, could make use of some existing vacant facilities. I think the opportunities are not completely limitless, but I think they are enormously exciting. And I believe that as a council person, I would be honored to work on a task force to start working on a 5-year plan immediately and start targeting companies that are growing, and particularly with this work from home renaissance that's starting. This is an opportunity where we could get the headquarters of a large companies that would really necessarily need to have as much ground space here, but would be able to attract some not only world-class employees, but provide jobs, quality jobs for all of our residents. So I have a very extremely bright outlook on a 5-year plan, and the vision would include really preserving and protecting the architectural and historical value that we have in our town that is so unique to any other city or municipality in our area, and I believe is one of the jewels in the crown of Pasadena. That would be part of my 5-year plan. But really to summarize, it's recruiting the right types of businesses, preserving the architectural and quality of life integrity of Pasadena, creating jobs, all types of jobs, and specifically focusing on jobs and job training for the districts and the individuals and the groups that most need to be uplifted. And so we can uplift everyone in our city, which is very, very important, and bring more social and economic equity, which is critically important to me. And those are sort of the key points that I would put into my initial 5-year planning project. I hope that answers your question, Councilman.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Masuda. I'm sorry, Councilmember Hampton. I apologize.
No worries.
Good. How are you, sir?
Good and yourself, candidate Amsbry. Good to see you.
Well, likewise, thanks, sir.
I will say, I have a question for you. What do you see the biggest challenges facing Pasadena in the coming years?
Well,
The coming year, sorry.
Yeah, great.
Year.
It's a great question. Thank you for clarifying years versus year, because in the current year there are overlapping challenges. It would be hard to list just one, but right now we have a budget that works for our city, that helps deliver the important city services that our residents are expecting from us. Those are a lot of challenges that are all sort of wrapped up to one that are related to COVID. So COVID is the overarching issue, and those are so many problems that are caused by that. And I think, you know, one of the more acute challenges that face us right now, and in part of my presentation, I apologize for it running a bit longer, but I have so much enthusiasm, it's hard to contain. 6 minutes goes by fast. I've had the pleasure to work closely with Dr. Go and many of the fine folks on her staff, both in my role as the chair of the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center and making sure that our operation is abundantly safe per the standards that Dr. Go has created. I've also, through my volunteer position with the Pasadena Police Department, have volunteered at one of the vaccination clinics and making arrangements to volunteer at more of the vaccination clinics because my first experience was so gratifying to be so close to helping our seniors now and first responders get vaccinated. But the fact that we don't have adequate access to enough vaccinations as quickly as we need to. It's not an issue that's unique to our city. It's endemic to other cities. And I know that it's something that is an issue that's related to your overall question. So I hope that provided a sufficiently complete answer to your question. And I'm happy to follow up on it if you have any more specific questions related to that.
No, I just had the one question and that was a thorough answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Mr. Masuda?
Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
In Pasadena, have you attended and or participated in any civic meetings? And if so, which ones, and describe your participation?
Sure. I've attended city council meetings. I'll may perhaps need some clarification on civic meetings, because I've gone to a lot of different events that have a meeting component to them. I've been to everything from, as I mentioned, to Councilmember Kennedy, to the reopening or the rededication of the Jackie Robinson Center. I attend each year the celebration of Martin Luther King. I tried to attend as many events as I can. Invoking the name of our prior mayor, I used to see him sometimes more than I did my wife on the weekends, because he tended to be on the circuit at a lot of different events. My focus had been largely on being community, trying to meet as many community members as I could, tried to connect with as many community organizations as I possibly could. My primary role at that time was finding ways for the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center to serve more community organizations and serve more community members. I wasn't thinking at the time that I would be pursuing a city council position. As I said before, I didn't have a life plan to be in politics. My life plan was to find larger platforms from which I could provide greater good for my community. But I do participate in a lot of meetings with city staff of various different titles in my work that I do with the various organizations. So I would characterize my familiarity with a lot of the city processes as a pretty good working knowledge in meeting with city manager staff, city attorneys, folks that run some of the different departments that relate to the work that I've done. Certainly with the police department, I've developed a relationship there. As the chairman of the board of the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center, 2 years we embarked on a very detailed plan and program to upgrade our safety facilities. And through our board of directors, we allocated a good amount of funding to hire some of the best safety experts in the country to help us with remediate our safety, everything from physical safety of our facilities, protocols, programming, training. And it occurred to me that while we're hiring experts from around the country, we have some great experts here in Pasadena, including our first responders, our police department, and our fire department. So at the time, I called up Captain Washington, who I had a previous relationship with, and it was interim chairman Perez at the time, and said, would you be able to help? And not unsurprisingly to you, because you know them better than I do, both organizations jumped at the opportunity to help us at the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center. And I worked extensively with both organizations as they helped us build a stronger program. They took our 38-page working safety plan and didn't tear it up, but they took a red pen to it and helped us make it better. And we're a better organization for it. And they had a number of different ways that we could improve upon what we had already built. And that was the beginning of a friendship that
Mr.
I
Amsbry,
built
if we could,
with both.
I think you answered the question on the civic meetings. Did you want to wrap up this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was yeah. Hopefully that answered the question. If I could provide any other follow-ups to that, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Next question is from Councilmember Madison.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And Pat, you've got an amazing record of service to the community and should really be commended. You know, I almost felt like reading your material and listening to you that I should come stand there and you should sit up here. So,
thank you.
You know, thank you very much. You know, I heard a prominent governor recently interviewed, and he said something that I found to be an important observation, and that was that in public life, at times it feels like we spend 90% of our time on what's urgent and only 10% on what's really important. So, kind of with that model in mind, what are the three most important things for the city of Pasadena right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sounds like the Boston Consulting Group matrix question a bit. I believe the most, I'm sorry, just to clarify, did you say important or urgent?
Important, not
Okay.
necessarily
Yeah,
urgent.
yeah.
Certainly some things like COVID could be both, but
Yeah, of course.
sort of taking that quote to heart, looking beyond the 90% of deadlines that we have to meet as a city council and all, what are the three important big priorities?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I would list the three most important. Again, I would go back to COVID and the myriad of issues related to them is at the top of the list. Second is preparing for the budget process because I believe, knowing what I know, this will be a challenging process given the impact that COVID has had on revenue to the city, and I believe that's the second most important thing. And third, I believe it's working with our community, all of our community, and particularly the part of the community that's the most at risk, and making sure that we are continuing to do the programs that I've been very proud of this city that is taking, I believe, a leadership role versus our peer group generally in Southern California in continuing programs and outreach programs to take care of those citizens that are most at risk, and to make sure that everyone that lives in Pasadena knows that they're cared for, that they're heard and seen, and that they are a valued member of this community, and there's help available for them. And I believe that those are the three most important things. Two are very practical matters, the business of the city, and the third's a bit more on the social services side. But I believe, knowing what I know, and that would be my answer. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Next question is from Councilmember Williams.
Hi.
Hello, Pat. Welcome to the council chambers.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my question is, and if you can give examples from your current involvement, that would be helpful as well. But give an example of how you would resolve a situation where your personal philosophy is maybe at odds with what is best for the city.
Sure. Thank you. And with all due respect, that's an easier question for me to answer because I've been faced with questions like this all the time. And in my business, I'm faced with similar questions all the time. As a council member, I would pledge a duty to my job at the council to do what's right. I don't know the exact pledge, but essentially it's a fiduciary responsibility. There's a duty of loyalty, a duty of care, and other duties that you would advise me of. But essentially, my duty is to the betterment of the residents of District 5 and generally to the city of Pasadena and its residents. And those would be the lens that I view every decision. What is best for the city? It means not what my personal viewpoint is on the matter. That I tuck away and put somewhere else, not to be considered or thought of during that decision. Because my job and my role is to serve the people of this great city and to make every decision with that in mind, to serve those people, the constituents of this city, under the leadership of the Honorable Mayor Gordo, and work collaboratively and civilly and with all of the fellow city council members to make the decisions that we believe collectively are those that are best for this city. So while it seems like that might be a moral or ethical dilemma question, it's a super easy question for me because my responsibility is abundantly clear to me in this role is to serve the greater good of the citizens of Pasadena. It's abundantly clear to me, and that's how I would conduct and comport myself if I were selected to be in this role.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. And I get to ask the final question.
Good.
And I know some of these questions may sound a little redundant, but I'll try and ask it a little bit differently. So name some of your main concerns that face District 5 and or the city of Pasadena if you wanted to delve deeper into the city in general, or some of the main issues facing District 5.
Great, thank you. Excuse me, thank you. That's a great question and I appreciate it. I'll start with District 5. First, I must acknowledge that thank you for being our council member for District 5 for so many years and doing a terrific job. And I can't imagine it had been easy because as we know, the district is, like many districts have, had gone up and down over the years. And I'm a proud member and proud resident of Northwest Pasadena, and I love my neighborhood of Orange Heights. What I believe the pressing issues are social injustice, inequities. There's racial injustice, inequities that I think are creating other problems. There's issues with increased violence that are happening in both District 5 and the adjacent district that are a problem that has been exacerbated perhaps by COVID or a byproduct or coincidental to COVID, but due to some other issues, related to things with prison, other laws. I think those are some clear issues. I'm also concerned about job loss and food insecurity, which is very real. Since March of this year, I spent a lot of time through my friendship with Madison Elementary doing food distribution. And thank you to the city for really stepping up. It was an amazing commitment by the city and other organizations to provide the meals for the children and their families. And I worked through rain and shine, before Mass and with Mass, and I distributed food curbside I walked to homes to deliver food to families. I drove lots of food to different families throughout Pasadena and met people at their homes. And I did see food insecurity through one of the programs that Kate and I did, our attendance incentive program and our monthly pizza parties we did at Madison. We saw in food insecurity. We saw that 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of pizza for a kid at lunch wasn't enough. Some of the kids would say, gee, can I, Mr. Pat, have an extra piece of pizza for my brother that might like it? And other kids would say, my cousin, can I have 3 pieces? And I asked our principal, I said, is there a possibility that, and the kids are wonderful and, telling the truth, but might there not be a cousin? Might there not be a meal perhaps that they're worried about? And she said, yeah, there's a possibility. So we started bringing more pizzas to our pizza party. And we told the kids, hey, if you want to bring you want to bring a whole pizza home for your cousins and family members to enjoy as a gift, that's very kind of you. You're welcome to. So we brought twice the number of pizzas so the kids could have an extra pizza that day. Granted, not the healthiest meal to have for lunch and dinner, but my view was if I could, and Kate and I together for one day, could provide the certainty of 2 meals for these kids. I felt bad it was only one day, but it was one day that I could help with this food insecurity. I'm deeply concerned about that in our community. I know that with so many people out of work, there's going to be issues related to inability to pay rent and evictions that I think are coming. There's a lot of issues there. I could go on, but I'll move to our city because I think there's some issues that transfer to the city as well. Homelessness is certainly one that kind of transcends across a lot of districts. But I think another issue that's a hot button is one with development and how a lot of development is continued to get sort of out of sync with the character of a lot of our neighborhoods. I know it's a complex issue. I know it relates to some of the state mandates and some laws and that have come down from the state and that it's complex, but I know that's concerning to many of our residents and something that I would like to be involved in to help find a sensible solution to continue to provide housing and affordable housing for our residents, but to do so in a way that maintains the character of our neighborhoods, doesn't overly contribute to traffic, and find sensible solutions to that are within the law, or pushing back on unfair laws that come down from the state in Sacramento. I think that's a big non-related COVID law. I mean, I could continue if you'd like, but
That's a thorough answer.
okay. Thank you, sir.
On the district and the city. Thank you. That covers our questions. Again, I just want to thank you for being willing to come into the chambers and answer our questions and doing so so thoroughly and together with my council colleagues, congratulate you for your record of service and also the willingness to be a part of a body that's always striving to make the best decision in the best interest of the residents of District 5 and the city. So thank you very much.
Great.
And next, the council will deliberate.
Yes, we'll invite you back to the conference room, and while the council deliberations take place, we'll turn on the TVs and allow you to listen in.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mayor, and to all the members of the council. I would like to thank you also for inviting me here tonight and giving me your time to speak with you and to share my views, and for the wonderful questions that you have. Thank you, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. I think in fairness to Mr. Amsbry, we're going to give him a minute to get back to the conference room and situated like the other candidates or applicants. Mark, how do we know when he's back? Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're just allowing Mr. Amsbry to make his way back to the conference room. You ready? Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed. We're fortunate to have 4 applicants before us, and I would open it up first to, let's go ahead and make a round. Does anybody want to kick it off? Raise your hand. Or Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to open up and by thanking the applicants. You know you're in the city of Pasadena when you call for leadership and you get 4 immensely qualified individuals like we had tonight. Kind of when I look at the lineup, so to speak, I think they represent many of the elements that make Pasadena such a great place. I look at Jess Rivas as an accomplished kind of civil servant, public servant, obviously incredibly bright and knowledgeable and serving on commissions. I look at Michael Warner, obviously deep knowledge of the city and commitment to the community. And our sister city program is so emblematic of the globalism that we value in our city. So I really, Michael, appreciate his leadership there. Barbara, and I'm gonna butcher her last name, but so I'll skip it.
Martha
But
Shenkenberg.
yes, thank you. The analytic powerhouse and their healthcare knowledge, and I'm biased, but I think the work at Leadership Pasadena is such a great organization to introduce people to civic and public service. And then Pat, I mean, obviously the Aquatic Center is a real jewel in our city and his leadership there. And, certainly his passion and commitment to giving back to the city is extraordinary. So I, don't have an answer or a recommendation, but I do think it's worth acknowledging the richness of the opportunity and the leadership, and wanted to thank them and at least highlight what I thought was unique characteristics to each one. And I think tonight we should look at them as individuals, but also, what we're looking for and where we think the council as a collective, given what's in front of us, will most benefit from their contributions. But each one of them, I think, needs to be recognized, first of all, for showing up, but also what they've already contributed to the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wilson. Mr. Masuda?
Thank you, Mayor. I too think all the candidates were just excellent, and they deserve a congratulations from all of us for applying and participating in this process. So again, they are all excellent. All candidates care so much about our city and for District 5. I thought I'll just go in order. Jessica has been here for about, I think I read that she's been here about 5 years, and she's been involved for 5 years, and I think that's great on her being involved with the status of women, and 2 years on the Northwest Commission, and she is very, very polished. And I would say Martha, was like Councilmember Wilson said, that she's so extremely well versed in the health area and an expert in the health field, and she cares a lot about District 5. Again, Michael Warner, I too think that he has a lot of experience, and he not only lives in Pasadena, but he's been living in Pasadena for a long time and serving our city very well. I know he has a long community involvement and with activities with so many areas. And Patrick was terrific with a lot of his experience and all the things he volunteers with, and his business background as well. I like the fact that he was involved with the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts. So, you know, everyone, we have a difficult decision here, and but I have to say that we'll come out with a good decision, and we'll work it out. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Masuda. Anyone else like to start with an opening comment? I mean, I agree. We have, you know, I'll just take them in order as they appear in our book. You know, Pat Amsbry's done a terrific job volunteering at Madison with the police department, with the aquatic center, throughout the city. Ms. Rivas, Jessica, has done a terrific job as a public employee with county council, as an attorney, with the volunteering with the Washington Square Neighborhood Association, as a major in the Army, and serving on the Northwest Commission, as well as on the Commission on the Status of Women. The Shenkenberg, same thing, volunteered with PNN, with the Orange Heights Neighborhood Association and Leadership Pasadena. And Mr. Warner, same thing, code enforcement, sister cities, food banks, long time Pasadenan and very involved. And so we're fortunate to have candidates who are expressing a willingness to serve, a willingness to make decisions that are in the best interest of not just their neighborhood or their district, but the residents of Pasadena. And, you know, I personally know all four candidates. I think I mentioned that earlier. And I think any one of them would do a great job as a member of this council. I think we've got to look at, you know, one of the issues that I look at, and I think we should all be looking at, is life's experience. And, you know, certainly each one of them has a different life experience, and brings a lot of history in the city, outside of the city, and an educational experience. And then the other issue is being able to relate to different people from every walk of life. And again, the candidates are all qualified in that respect as well. You know, before I go further, I'm going to see if anyone else has any comments or questions. Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. It was really interesting to see the diversity of the candidates that we got, just not only their experience, but their experience in Pasadena, their involvement, and only in Pasadena can you see that much diversity and that high level of involvement. I think we're really fortunate. The only thing that I would add here is, you know what, I love you guys to death. You guys are my homeboys, but I really would like to see another woman on the council. So that's kind of that's the only sort of preference that I'm going to put there. I think just in terms of diversity, in terms of where we are now with the country, with our state, with our city, I think it really is important to have another woman on the council to represent a different point of view. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Hampton?
I'll be brief, because my colleagues have mentioned pretty much everything. It was very impressive to see the diverse cast of candidates that we received tonight, from, you know, answering the questions to their resumes, which have been amazing to read, and then also get to see them live and in person, well, on the screen at least. I feel like I'm watching you guys on the big screen. And the passion that was there. There were a couple candidates that showed just tremendous amounts of passion, and I think that at the end of the day, when you represent people, you have to have that passion. You have to be a people person to actually be able to hear what people want. And then also, you know, we talked about the future of the city, a lot of the questions, you know, where do you see us in 10 years? Some of the answers from the candidates, you know, I think of our children being the future of the city, and what are we going to leave for them as a council? And some of the candidates mentioned that, and that resonated with me. So I just wanted to say that all of the candidates were fantastic candidates, and all of them were very engaged in the city. I mean, of course, you have to be engaged to want to apply and come get a job interview from 10 different opinions on this council. We're all different people, but you know, together collectively, we all work very well together. And so I just want to say thank you so much for putting yourself out there. And also, it's awesome to see that each and every one of the people that came up, you know, mentioned their family and the support they're receiving from their family. And that's one thing you need. You need that support. You need to have a support system around you, especially being in this position. So I just want to say I'm very happy for everyone who has applied. Of course, unfortunately, we don't really be able to pick one unless we can like morph all four of them together some sort of way, which is impossible. But I just want to tell each and every one of you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for wanting to and willing to be able to serve the city of Pasadena.
Mr. Kennedy?
Just procedurally, I didn't fully understand at this point if the applicants are able to hear our deliberations.
They are.
They are, if they choose to.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, does that complete our first round before we start accepting motions? Okay, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Kennedy, were you finished?
I'm good, Mayor.
Did you say that you're accepting motions?
Yeah, you know, now I think is the time to accept motions. You know, I feel compelled to provide some guidance to the council as the former representative of District 5 and as the council member, but now as mayor, I have the honor of continuing to serve District 5 and the residents of District 5 and all of our districts. And I have to say, you know, that all four, as we've all said, are very qualified, and I invite all four to continue to be involved and I know that they will be. I think in this instance, as I look around the dais and I talk to people in the district, and you know, both involved in issues of violence, issues of housing, all of the issues that are facing us, and I look at the different tools that each brings. I think Ms. Rivas has a distinct background, life's experience, knowledge of government at all levels, and is currently living a life experience that even among this very qualified group is very unique. And, you know, I won't rate all of the candidates beyond that, but I'll thank all of the candidates for their interest and their willingness. You know, this is a difficult decision. All four of them I've worked with and gotten to know personally and politically, and consider them all friends and supporters, and I'm certainly supporters of theirs. But that's my view at the moment.
I'll make a motion for Martha Shenkenberg.
For the purpose of putting it on the floor, meaning the recommendation by the former vice mayor and council member in District 1, I will second the motion.
Oh, Mayor, I appreciate Mr. Kennedy's second, but do you really want to call the question if there isn't consensus support?
Right. If there is no support, then I understand.
In order to have a fair process, I would suspect, Mayor, that it would be appropriate that if there is a second, that there is a question that's called and that we need to vote on. Each applicant that receives a second, in the case of filling the position that Andy now holds, we did that similarly, and I don't see any reason why we would depart from that. But of course, I think consensus makes good sense, but you have a motion on the floor.
Just a clarification, Mayor, I guess I understood your previous statement as a motion. Was it not a motion?
Yeah, I'm prepared to make a motion. I wanted to hear from other members of the council, but I am prepared to make a motion for Ms. Rivas.
But the problem with that is,
I mean,
I didn't ask.
We could,
if I may, I didn't ask my colleague to make a motion. He made a motion, and there's a second to that motion. I think we need to vote on that. Had you made a motion,
I think the confusion is that the mayor was making a motion.
Well, in order.
No,
He didn't say a name.
That's what I thought he was doing.
Councilmember Hampton.
Let's do this. I'm prepared to make a substitute motion if that clarifies things and procedurally would be correct, Madam City Attorney. Yeah. So I would make a substitute motion.
I'd second that motion.
Mayor?
And what
Yes.
is for Ms.
For Ms. Rivas, yes.
May I be recognized, Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Kennedy.
If you're speaking to provide consensus,
Mhm.
and you would recognize the council member, and the council member received a second, I think out of fairness, you need to let the vote go forward. Having said that, I believe you do have the right to make a substitute motion. Had you made the motion initially, I'd have been more than happy to second that. As you recall, I said I wanted to at least put the council member's motion on the floor. It's called a courtesy, particularly when you're talking about creating consensus around the dais. You have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nothing prevents that, Mr. Kennedy. I think we have two options here, but there's a substitute motion, and we can hear.
Mayor, if I could speak to the point that's on the table, my view is we have an embarrassment of riches here. These are four really marvelously qualified candidates. I have no doubt that every one of these candidates could well serve the District 5 and the city at large. I believe for the reasons you expressed and others that Ms. Rivas should be appointed. I mean, no disservice or, any disrespect to the other members and to me, the other applicants rather, and to me, it would be unfortunate if, for whatever reason, Mr. Kennedy forces a vote that then doesn't carry, and you have someone who applied and was voted down. And then we move to the other candidate and perhaps she would be then appointed. I just don't see the purpose of that. So that was the nature of my comment and the reason for my second of the substitute motion. I don't know that we have to debate this. I suggest we proceed with the substitute motion and
Well,
move
I
on.
mean, you don't get to dictate in reference to another colleague about whether we need to debate the issue. We are all duly elected, so we get a right to speak on an
Mr.
issue.
Kenny, I'll
You cannot
recognize you.
muffle or muzzle
Mr.
another council member because you
Kennedy.
have a desire to move in a
Mr.
specific
Kennedy.
direction.
I'll recognize you, Mr. Kennedy, if you have comments to make regarding the motion. I understand.
Thank you, Mayor. I do. When Councilmember Madison says we don't need to debate the issue, that's part of our job,
So we can.
is to debate the issue. Now, there's precedent for the way in which we're proceeding, because as you recall, when we filled the vacancy that was created by Terry Tornick, Councilmember Terry Tornick, becoming mayor, there again, there were qualified candidates. And we went through an iterative process where there needed to be a majority vote for one person. We are not going to rule this council by fiat. It's by collaboration. And oftentimes, I would say 90% of the time, it's by consensus, but debate is healthy. So I definitely disagree with Councilmember Madison's position. Now, as I disagree, that doesn't mean that ultimately we will agree, but debate is healthy.
I agree that debate is healthy. I think that there are four fantastic candidates here. All of them are great candidates. And we have someone who served the district for 20 plus years. I didn't know that his original statements were related to actually lending himself a name. I personally have said this in our meetings, that I think that everybody should have an opportunity. I understand that Councilmember Madison doesn't think it's appropriate for the council to vote people up or down. I think that, these people put themselves on the line. So with that being said, I will actually remove my motion, and we will proceed with the substitute motion.
Well, if you withdraw your motion, and look, I agree, debate is.
Oh, well, actually, it will be the motion now, right? So, I mean, so if someone wants to substitute,
So
they
it
could.
wouldn't be, yeah.
I withdraw my motion, so if someone wants to motion someone else, then they have the right to do so. But I hear my colleagues, and I think that, this could be, this may not look great. So I'm ready to move forward with the next name.
I think it's important that we have debate. I think it's important that we have discussion, and I appreciate both Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Kennedy. I'm not sure if well, if the motion is withdrawn, the original motion, then that automatically.
Well, the substitute
actually-
motion is on the floor.
Well,
And so the substitute motion would be the motion
Carried.
that's voted on.
Carried, yeah.
If it doesn't carry, then you go back to the underlying motion. But
but we can withdraw. Mr. Hampton can withdraw.
But I could withdraw my motion.
I think in the interest of.
I just
Even if
withdraw
it's
my motion.
Well, let's say in the spirit of collegiality that I'm going to consider, it may not be in accordance with the city attorney's procedural interpretation of how to proceed, but I consider the motion withdrawn, but I understand that procedurally we're voting on on the motion that I made subsequent. Is that
Right, and I didn't know that you, once again, Mayor, I didn't know that you were originally making a motion. Councilmember Williams clarified that, so I jumped the gun on the motion.
No, that's fair. Look, you know.
Maybe I shouldn't say jump the gun these days. I'm not a politician.
I think, you know, I think debate is important, clarification is important. If it, you know, leads us to a decision where we're united, I think it's very important that we allow everyone to make their views known. Mr. Wilson?
I think Vice Mayor Wilson has a question.
Yeah, I know, Gene, were you in the queue? I didn't want to get cut in front of you
No.
if you were waiting. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, once again, I want to amplify, I think we have 4 incredibly qualified candidates. Do put real merit in Councilmember Williams' observation that I think women's leadership at the city council level is inadequate. I'm glad Williams is here, and you know, I had a lot of respect for Margaret and what she brought to the equation, and so I am super respectful of the Michael Warner and Pat Amsbry. I think they've both been incredible contributors to the city, and I know Pat personally is the one I happen to know, and I think he has incredible heart and conviction in terms of his work in the city. It's second to none. But I think there's an opportunity to provide leadership engagement in kind of a part of our community that simply hasn't been well represented around the dais. So I hear what Councilmember Williams is saying. So as much as, you know, hey, I'm a white guy and like, you know, those I know that group of people and I respect them, but I think it's an opportunity for other people to participate. And we have the power and the authority to, you know, play a role in figuring out who's on this dais. The voters usually do that. So I encourage anyone who showed up today to put their name in the hat to run for council and, you know, get the residents to decide, but this is a different circumstance. And I think we can, in some ways, you know, short circuit the incredible hardship and fundraising challenges that someone would have to go through to earn a seat in the council to give people a voice that normally wouldn't be heard. So I'm supportive of, you know, taking an action here that allows those voices to be heard. And I'd agree with, you know, Mayor Gordo's recommendation of Jessica Rivas. I think, you know, our city is more than a third Latino and Latinx, and we have only one person at the council who represents that heritage in our city. So I think we have an opportunity to allow that voice to be more effectively heard and continue to role model. Victor, like you have, as our mayor, opportunities for more voices to be heard. And so I would be supportive of that motion for those reasons. And once again, John, I say this to illuminate.
On my first pass, I just wanted to hear my colleagues. So if I may, just briefly, Patrick Amsbry, I don't believe I've ever met before, but certainly he was extremely impressive. I've never met, to the best of my recollection, I've never met Martha Shenkenberg. She was thoroughly impressive in her presentation. I have the utmost respect for Michael Warner for his long commitment to the city of Pasadena. Oftentimes, or most of the time, he receives no pat on the back or attaboy. He just does it because it's the right thing to do. And his leadership with Pasadena Sister Cities is second to none. And I believe he has recycled as the president of that organization to keep our relationships with our sister cities going strongly. So you have to give him kudos for that and kudos for just caring for people. As it relates to Jessica Rivas, she has an interesting background that I think would be very helpful on the council. The fact that she is military, the fact that she's a lawyer, the fact that she has real life experiences that could help the council. And I think the kind of issues that I am concerned about, and I think the council is concerned about, particularly figuring out this whole complicated issue about housing, makes her a standout for me. Again, as it relates to my colleague who wanted to put some matter on the table for consideration, that's the reason I did that. As the mayor made a motion, and he did not, I would have gladly been one of the seconders to that motion. And I really believe that Jessica's heart is in the right place. Obviously, she has a learning curve, and I think she's more than capable to get there quickly, as we all had learning curves. So thank you very much, Mayor, for the opportunity to address the issue.
You know, I appreciate the initial motion, Mr. Hampton, Mr. Kennedy. I think it kicks us off into getting to the point, and that's where we are. You know, I tell people nobody comes to this job of having, or any job, for the first time of having served on the city council. And there's a learning curve for all of us. And, you know, I expect Ms. Rivas the same. And again, I want to thank all four candidates for having the guts to step into the chambers, to stand before us, and I know that they'll all remain involved for the right reasons that they have been involved, because they care about their neighbors, they care about this community, and they've shown that with their record of service. And so, Mike Warner, thank you. Martha Shenkenberg, thank you. Jess Rivas, thank you. And Pat Amsbry, thank you. You're all neighbors and friends and have done a terrific job. And I appreciate all of you and your willingness to step up and express a willingness to serve. With that, there's a motion on the table and we can take a vote.
On the motion to appoint Jessica Rivas to fill the vacancy for District 5, Councilmember Hampton,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Madison,
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gordo.
Yes,
The motion is approved without opposition.
thank you. And congratulations well, I guess she needs to be sworn in now.
She will, we'll bring her forward and have her get sworn in.
Great. I just realized I haven't cleaned out my District 5 desk, so. So again, colleagues, if we'll all be patient and again, thank the candidates and everyone who weighed in. And okay. Vice Mayor Wilson, you were much more controversial.
Pick 3 times at the bat, I guess. These candidates are much more qualified than I was.
We should have you resubmit.
Two of them came with a PowerPoint like you.
Yeah, hey, 2 of them good. I gotta resubmit in 2 years to my residents.
That's right. Okay. just so we know, soon to be Councilmember Rivas will be sworn in by the city clerk. And then we can adjourn. Ms. Rivas, congratulations. We'll you know, on behalf of the city council, we'd like to, I don't know if we offer you a position or to inform you that, the council is unanimous in its decision to appoint you to the District 5 seat. It was not an easy decision, as you know. Your colleagues, the applicants are all qualified, but we believe that you will add additional value to the council and represent the District 5 residents very well as contribute to sound decision-making here for the entire city. And so welcome on behalf of each member of the council. We welcome you as a colleague. And with that, I'll look to the city clerk to swear you in.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Jessica Rivas.
I, Jessica Rivas,
Do solemnly affirm.
do solemnly affirm
That I will support and defend.
that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies.
against all enemies,
Foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge
the duties of.
Pasadena City Council Member.
Pasadena City Council Member.
Representing District 5.
Representing District 5.
Upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
If you
So I just want to say thank you so
would
much
like to
again.
make, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I am incredibly honored and humbled by this position. It's a huge responsibility to represent our district and our city, especially during these trying times. So I look forward to get to work, and we can do whatever we can do to make our city and District 5 especially, you know, a great place, the great place it is already to live, even better. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And again, on behalf of every member of the council, congratulations to you and to your family. You've done a great job of preparing yourself to sit on the city council and serve as the representative for District 5. And I can tell you, you're joining a council that's informed, that's passionate about Pasadena and the people of Pasadena. And I think you'll do a terrific job of adding to 7 individuals and a staff that is interested always in making decisions in the best interest of the people of this city. So thank you for stepping up, and welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, thank you. And I expect you'll be receiving a telephone call from our colleague, Jessica Rivas, in the near future to get to know one another. So again, congratulations. And I want to thank each of you for everything that you do as colleagues for not just your own districts, but for the city as a whole. And thank you for participating this evening and in every other meeting. And we'll see you all on Monday night, if not before then. Thank you. And
Thank you. Good night and
Good night.
congratulations.
God bless
Jeff.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
we will stand
Thank you, everyone.
adjourned.